Hi, everybody. Hey, happy December. Welcome to J Squared, the All You Need to Know and Everything You Never Thought You Needed to Know podcast on fundraising, development, grants, and anything connected to nonprofits. I'm Jean Troy with Daza Development.
I'm Jessica Whitmore, also with Daza Development.
So we are thrilled to be here for our third episode. This is cool. And today's topic is something that people cringe at usually, but it's really very necessary: strategic long range planning. And that is, people say, oh, strategic long range planning. What are we going to do? So you have fun with it. That's what you do. It's a conversation between you, the executive director or consultant, and your board and the board. It's about looking at where you are. Well, first, where you were for the past year, where you are now, and where you want to go. Should be 5 years, give or take. Some people do 3. I don't know what you run into, Jess, but
I've seen in grant applications where they've asked for 3, 5, or 7 year plans
oh,
is kind of what I've seen. But usually most nonprofits are 3, 5 years.
yeah, three to five.
That's
So
what's common.
when we talk about strategic planning, and I like it because it should generate honest conversations
Where
among,
everybody is open and transparent,
and
and
where
doesn't
everybody
stipulate.
speaks.
Yes.
Everybody speaks. Because if you don't, and you're having this conversation, and you might be afraid the executive director or board chair might not like what you're going to say, this is the time that you say it. If you can't say it in a safe environment, then you need to take a look at the internal processes and controls that are in place that make you not feel safe to speak. So it is critical to have that honest conversation. And, we're not fancy when we do it. We're not. We keep it pretty simple, actually. It's the words to describe the organization, which I love to hear. I don't know about you, Jessica, but I love to hear when people describe their organization, because they'll come up with everything. They never say passionate. I always have to pull that word out
Mhm.
of them, which I find to be kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Plus, it's
Um,
always interesting what people say, like versus the formal responses versus the conversation, and you actually pick up a lot more from the conversation to be
sure.
able to pull out, or as you referenced, those who are quiet. I mean, I know you will call out people if they're very quiet, or from my time working in the classrooms and seeing, oh, they're quiet, why they're quiet. Like, even if you're quiet and you think you're not communicating anything about it, you're communicating something that we're picking up and gently prod to get more information on it.
And a lot of times I think, I mean, I'm not shy. Most people who know me know that, you know that. But a lot of people hesitate to speak up at this most critical time in a nonprofit's life cycle for the year. Like, well, if I say this and it annoys or bothers or irritates the executive director, and if you don't say it, what will it do?
Then it will just keep on growing and festering. And then when you get to a grant application and you have to identify something, it may not be there because that topic was never brought up.
right. So it's really kind of it's fun. I do like them, and when I do them, we talk about the words to describe them. Um, what have they accomplished over the past year, which I think is important because it's all about celebration, like we mentioned an episode or two ago. It's about celebrating the big wins, the small wins, you know the walks across the street wins. It's those kind of things, and then really take a look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And I always laugh. Everybody can say their strengths. That's usually where the descriptive words
Mhm.
come in. For our faith-based clients, to me, faith should be the number one thing. You would be amazed. I'm like, you guys,
Mm.
you're faith-based. What happened to the faith part?
Mhm.
Oh, well, I just thought
Mhm.
that was no. Don't assume. Put it in
Yeah.
there. It's a
Yeah.
big thing. So you do all that, and then you look at it, or sometimes people will say, well, we only have 2 weaknesses. When in my head, I'm going, no, you have about 10. So
Mhm.
let's go through this list. So it really does help for them to see from a complete outsider's viewpoint, which is generally what we are coming in to do this. We know nothing I mean, yeah.
Well, and I was going to ask you that. Like, I know there's some organizations who have said, "Oh, we'll just do it internally." And what do you see as the benefits of bringing in an external person to do this, and versus them all just sitting internally doing this?
So, I think bringing somebody in from the outside that does not know the organization as in depth as they do is a fresh set of eyes
Mhm.
to see what they're saying. And sometimes, they're this close to it, so they can't see the forest for the trees. When really you have to step back and go, huh, this didn't really work. Maybe we need to do,
That is why also when your grant writers write something and you're catching a spelling error, it's because we have been so close and we have been so ingrained in the document that our brain is reading it as to instead of or things
Right.
like that. So yes,
Little
you can be so close sometimes that you
we
can't.
we forget. We forget what that's like. We forget I mean, yes, they know it, and nobody knows their organization like they do. I'm not taking that away from them at all. But I do want to say that you might not know it as well as you think you know it. Because if
And you
somebody
have
from the
to.
outside comes in and says, yes, but what about this? And that proverbial light bulb goes off in their heads. And then, well, I never thought that.
And you have to be able to succinctly describe who you are, what you're doing, and where your goals are. So whether you're talking to a donor or you're putting in an application or you're putting in an LOI, it has to be succinct. So you can have a lot of all this extra, but like what is the core? What
Yeah.
is the core in that? Which is really important
And
in the
part
plan
of it,
pieces.
and you know this from your grants, budgets are a critical part of any strategic long range plan. You had the organizational overarching budget, and then you have the program budget. So for every program that you as an organization may have, you should have a budget for each one of those.
Mhm.
So if you have 15 programs, yeah, you're going to have 15 program budgets plus one overarching budget. That's 16 budgets. Your mind's probably going, oh my God, 16 budgets. But you need it, because if you're
Yeah.
going to go for money as part of, a long range plan, and we'll get to whether you should include grants or not into your long range and development plans. You've got to have that budget. We don't know the budget. You do. You know the costs of XYZ program and how much food it takes or how much gasoline and transportation. You know that. So it's
And you know your vendors, if you're not under a state grant thing where you have to have the review period and everything, you know who your vendors are in the area. I don't know those relationships that you've established. So yeah, that's why it's important.
so you've got the words that describe, you have your mission statement and you have your vision statement. Little tidbit here. Your
Now,
mission.
can you change them? Here's a question I often get. How often can you change your mission statement though? Like once it's written, can you keep on tweaking it or should it just stay like that for not forever, but you know what I mean?
Mean, like written in stone. Um,
Mhm.
you can change it. I wouldn't say change it every year, but as you evolve as an organization, you may find that what worked in the first 5 or 10 years needs to be tweaked to accurately reflect what you're doing now. So, yes, by all means, change it to reflect what you're doing now. Do not make it more than 20 words, because nobody remembers mission statements that are 51 words in length. I mean, no, be succinct, pithy,
Mhm.
short.
Mhm.
We do this. Your vision statement is the same thing, but tells people how you do this.
I
So
think vision statements and bullets too. Like our vision is accomplished through point one, point two,
yeah,
point three as like a bullet type of system.
I kind of like bullets because it draws your eyes right
The
to
only
it.
thing you have to be careful is if you're copying and pasting from like a Word document with bullets and you put it into a grant portal, you're not going to have the same. It's not
Yeah.
going to mimic over. So sometimes your grant writers have to like move things around and you don't get that nice line. So if you're
But
looking
you're
at application, don't be mad at your grant writer. It's just the the formatting doesn't go over.
portal. So we've got the words, we've got the mission, we've got the vision, we have the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is all part of your raw data. And then you get to the fun part. What are your milestones a year from the day that you do this plan? Like a year from today? What do you want to accomplish in the upcoming year. And then you go, what do you want to do in the upcoming 3 years? And then 5 years. I don't think I would like to go out beyond five, but
So much can happen in 5 years. I mean, think of from 2020 to now. Gosh, it's
who'd have guessed? Like who, so, putting down in writing where you want to go and then further delineating it. Like you want to increase your marketing. Well, that's a pretty broad topic. How do you want to increase your marketing? Do you want to do it by social media? If so, by what percent? How many likes do you want to get? What are your goals to do that? So be as specific as you feel the organization can handle the specificity, if that makes sense.
and realistic.
Yes.
So, like, if you're writing it about social media and you have nobody doing social media,
Right.
maybe your first goal is to establish all the platforms and to start a frequent rotation of it, not to, you know, jump all the way to what the social media specialists do, unless you're bringing somebody in to
To
do
do that
that.
specifically. And then part of that strategic plan should be a development plan, which is always interesting. So part of that development plan is, okay, you've got your individuals and your churches and your civic groups and your corporations and whatever tax credits your state may have, put that down. What's the percentage increase from where you are now? Do you want to go 50%? Try not to kill yourself doing that. So keep it realistic. You want to keep those improvements and increases realistic and work on that. And part of that development plan are grants. So grants on the brain here. And this is your bailiwick, Jessica. This is what you do. And how often have we said, don't put grants in your budget?
Right, right.
And how
We have seen so many times over the past few years. I mean, I can give so many examples of where long-term relationships have been there and funding has been expected and it just disappears because the funder has changed how they're operating. Or a recent example, funding was cut by a third, and it's just you can't guarantee. You can have your regular funders, but you can't guarantee that they're going to be there for you every single year. And it's also why I always say in the grants meetings, grants cannot be your only form of fundraising. So
right.
if you think that you're going to go after grants because they're simple, they're not. If you think that you're going to go after grants because they're easy money, they are not. If you think that research and grant opportunities is just poof, put in a keyword, grants, I don't know, grants, toys, whatever, and it's going to populate up. What most people don't understand is the team I lead, when we're researching a grant, we're looking at 990s and websites, and we're digging in and finding out what they've given to before, and is it in the right parameter?
Right.
And sometimes we're like, we don't know. We're gonna test it out, and we're gonna see. We're gonna put into this funder and see what comes back because we think we're closely aligned, but until we get that response back of nope, we need it to be more of this. Okay, then we know those parameters. So it's not easy, it's not fast, because the time frames can take a very long time. So please make sure that your development plan is not just grants heavy. It needs to be all encompassing of all the different types of fundraising.
Diversified.
Yeah.
And so that pulls into your corporate giving. If your state, wherever you're listening to this from, has tax credits, investigate them, because there's ways where you can get the money and the donor, i.e. company or corporation, gets a tax credit.
Mhm.
Pennsylvania has several wonderful, where we're based out of, several wonderful tax credit programs that we've enjoyed for our clients' success. So that becomes part of your plan. And you have a goal. Maybe it's $100,000. So do you evenly distribute that 100,000 among all the different ways? Nah, it's not real practical. I've tried that, didn't work. But you do. Well, I thought, I have five
Yeah,
different
yeah.
avenues, so 20,000 each. How hard can that be?
Right.
You
Right.
know, don't do that. I mean, base it on your donor structure from the prior year and be reasonable. If
Mhm.
you know you're facing a capital campaign in the next year or two, and that might come up in the 1, 3, and 5 milestones, plan for that. That's a whole different topic, capital campaigns, and a whole different
Well,
budget.
And this brings up a really important part of plan for it. Like, we just had Giving Tuesday, and I know that we were part of conversations where the Friday before, newer organizations were like, let's do something for Giving Tuesday. Well, you need to start that planning much more in depth, a long time before that.
Start in August for Giving Tuesday.
Yes. So all of this is all about planning. And when I say that, it doesn't mean like throw it together. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't mean throw it together. It also doesn't mean throw it on your consultants to do, or on your employees of like, hey, here, set this up. So years and years ago in my professional life, um, I was I was told to develop a program within 6 weeks. And in my research, that program takes a year to develop. Now, I did it. I was exhausted, and we had great success. But don't think that you can just any of this. It's all a process, and you have to embrace the process of it.
You do, and you have to understand that a strategic long range plan, that's another thing that is not written in stone. Now, think back to what happened 5 years ago. None of us ever expected a pandemic to globally shut down the world. Nobody. So wasn't in our plans. Pandemic 2020, 2020. Not in the calendar that year. So everybody
Not
had
a
to
bingo
learn.
card.
Yeah, not the bingo card. Right. Everybody had to pivot. And so I always think of friends when I say that, but learn to adapt and be
And
flexible.
that can be one of your strengths
Yeah.
too in your planning. Like we have a very adaptive team.
Correct.
Or it can be your weakness of our team struggles to adapt. And I heard somebody say, um, how did they say it? I'm not against change. I like tradition. And I think
Oh,
sometimes you think, I'm not against change. I like tradition or I like structure. So that could be your strength if your team is very nimble and can adapt, or it can be your weakness and figure out how do we make our team more adaptable.
that's a good point because I laugh. Some people call me rigid, and I think I'm really not. I mean, I've learned to be not rigid. Yes, I have ways that I like to do things, but within those ways, I'm flexible to try to get the money needed. Okay, so I, there's protocol. There's a reason why it's called protocol and standard operating procedure because guess what? It works. But people need to understand that
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little more. I would
And I think, yeah, and I would agree. Like even myself, I have my preferred ways of doing things. But if somebody's going to suggest something, I'll at least consider like,
yes.
oh, how would that work? Would that work well? Instead of like shutting it right down and going, no, we're not going to do that. Because maybe in that conversation of how to pivot and how to adapt to it, something else comes out of that that is even better.
And I think and I say this in the collective, we have learned that we can't be rigid. We have
Mm.
to be able to on a dime turn and do
And this
something.
past year really highlighted that in many, many
Yes,
ways
I did. And
for nonprofits. Yeah.
when we talked about grants, that also includes your federal grants because both congressionally and in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the budgets were not passed until November. So those who depend on congressional funding or state funding were like, what do we
Right.
do? Which goes to our point of having that diversified funding. If
And oh, sorry. I was gonna
no,
say
no,
if you want to go after federal funding, now there's a lot of nonprofits that are like, oh, I want to go after federal funding and it'll be quick, it'll be easy, it'll be whatever. You have to consider, I know many organizations who decide not to go for certain federal funding opportunities because of the reporting requirements on the back end. So as you're considering and as your team might be working on federal opportunities, keep in mind if we get this, what's our reporting going to look like and can we manage that on a large scale?
and that I think that's true for even state funding for any kind
Yes.
because the state money comes from the feds a lot of the time, so it's
Yes.
directly tied in
But
together.
they can all tie into your strategic plan too, because are your plans that you have for this program, do you have the personnel to support it? Do you have the funding to support your personnel? Yeah.
And when I it's funny because I just did a plan a couple weeks ago, and nowhere was it mentioned until I brought it up. Are you not planning to expand, have paid staff, or is this going to be an all volunteer driven organization? So you need to look at that too as an all volunteer organization. You're going to wear out your volunteers, I will say that, but
Yeah.
you should plan for some kind of part-time AA or something to help with everything. So
But on that note, though, don't hire one person to do everything. I've seen
right.
where one person handles the grants and the programs and this and this and this and this and this, and then nothing's making any progress because they're spread too thin. So you really have to be mindful. But that can all be part of your plan.
It can be all part of your plan. And for the new nonprofits that are just up and getting going, and there's a lot of them, and kudos to those who say, I want to start a nonprofit and I want to do this, I want to fix this or fix that. There are basics that need to be thought of. And those basics are policies that protect the organization and protect the donors. So you have to have them.
Mhm.
And that's part of it. Something simple as a gift acceptance policy. What gifts are you going to take? Are you going to take everything that comes down the pipe? Gosh, I certainly hope not. But if you do, have a plan in place to accept it. Stocks, absolutely. Appreciated assets, for sure. Cemetery plots, maybe not.
Actually, I know somebody who said they ended up with so many cemetery plots
Yep.
that he was like, "What do we do with these?" So,
So I mean, the basic things that make you give you this backbone of a good organization need to be considered in this plan. Do your policies, if you have them, need to be updated in light of, consider your political climate as well as you're doing that. Things have changed a lot this year politically.
mhm.
How is that going to affect the population that you serve, depending on what it is that you do? So be aware.
And
It's
you don't. This all makes me think too, because this is all so much to like take in. For any nonprofit, you don't have to do it alone. That's why there's
right.
organizations like us to come and guide and to fill in and to make sure that your board members have a strong, robust differentiation of skills to add. You don't want everybody to be the same industry on your board. You want a wide range so that you have somebody that can help with your communication stuff and your marketing stuff and this stuff. I mean, everybody has to be fundraising,
It's great to have
but
a player on board.
yes, yes. And make sure that that is also part of your plan. So if you say our weakness is we know we don't have a wide enough skill set on our board, but our goal is to add X, Y, and Z. Like,
And if you have a small board, as many of our people that we hope do, what do your bylaws say? Your bylaws ought to say how many people you can have on a board. For sure, don't keep it an even number because then you're going to have a tie break, and we all know that doesn't work well. So keep it as an uneven number of people. But like I just helped somebody get a potential new board member for their board because they only have three. Now, yes, it puts them at four, so we're gonna have to get another one, make it five. But it's all those kinds of things. So think about where you are and what do you need. Do a board audit of your board. Like, where are your weaknesses? Where are your strengths as a board, not just an organization? So planning, overarching big word planning. But when you chunk it out, there's ways to make it work. And
the
know that
other,
it's go ahead.
oh, I was saying the other thing I love about all these like policies and plans, the bylaws and all this type of stuff is I was actually having this conversation a couple of weeks ago with somebody that if your organization gets into a situation with like a donor or any type of, potential donor, things like that, a potential board member, or if somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I have this great idea. You need to expand into X, Y, and Z." Your policies, your bylaw, your plan become the bad guy.
Yeah.
So they become, instead of the executive director or the board chair saying, "No, I really don't think that's a good idea," you can say, "Hey, look, we really appreciate your insight and your thoughts. However, our policy adopted by the board is X, Y, and Z, and here's the document to show it. Our strategic plan for the next 3 to 5 years is X, Y, and Z. If you want us to consider this, then we need to keep it in mind. Does it fit within these parameters? Or our bylaws say this. So it's not a personal, It's no
Right.
longer, for example, Jessica saying, I don't want this. It's this is what has been decided and documented and planned out, whether it's a strategic plan or policy, they become the bad guys to protect you. And then what the donor can get upset or whoever can get upset at the policy, not at you personally.
I mean, donors are really savvy. People forget that. Donors know who they're giving to, why they're giving, how much they're giving, and what their money's going to do. They will be thrilled to know that you have all your ducks lined up in a row. You've got all your policies, you have your directors and officers insurance. They will be happy to know that because it shows them you're thinking, you're using your head, you're planning ahead.
And a lot of larger donors don't make the decisions alone. They may talk to their family members, they may talk to their legal counsel, their, different people. So they're looking at it and yes, they're most of them are very intentional
Yes, that's a good
what they're
word.
doing.
That's a
Yeah.
good word. So you don't have to cringe at the phrases strategic long range plan. Or I did a white paper once on it's not called a Slurpee for a reason. It's a strategic long range. It's not a drink, it's not a slushy. But what it is your footprint and it is your guideline. And know that it can move. It can be here in the first year, but by year three, you might think, might have to push what we're going to do in year 3 to year 5.
Mhm.
It is a fluid, living document. It's added onto, it's subtracted from, you accomplish things, you slide something else in its place. It's not complicated. Doesn't have to be 50,000 pages long.
No, it can be in bullet point. It doesn't have to be full sentences.
It is a plan with, I will say, who's going to do that part of the plan and by when. So it would
Mhm.
have the goal, who's doing it, when it will be done by, so that you can be held accountable, you meaning the organization, and I guess you as individuals too, can see who's doing what and when.
And don't just put the name in there. Don't be
Yeah.
like, Jean will do this, Jessica will do this. Make sure you're putting in the title of their role so that there's clarification. Is this a board member? Is this a staff member? Is this a consultant?
In fact, I wouldn't put names in at all. I would put the roles
Just
because
the roles.
people
Yep.
change.
Yep.
Board members step off, get sick,
Yep.
what have you, move, retire, whatever that is. So yeah, no names. That's a good point. No names, just use your head. That's all we're
Yep.
saying. We're not, it's really not designed to make you turn white. It's designed to make you be a stronger organization.
And
That's
it takes time. I mean, it can take time.
yeah.
Like I know you hold like a weekend retreat. You do them
I
almost
try,
like in
well, it depends on the schedule of the board members. I've gotten it to a science now where I can do it in 4 hours.
okay.
What I thought I'd say. I prefer to kind of chunk it if I can, but if this is the only time everybody gets together, well, then settle down, people, because we're going to be working
Yeah,
through.
get to work. Dig
It's
in. Yeah.
it's a working Saturday, and
Mhm.
everybody is tired at the end of it. But it also makes them realize one of two things: we're better than we thought. We have more in place than we thought, or conversely, boy, we need a lot of work.
We have a lot to do.
We need a lot of help. But whatever it does, it points out the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's
Yes.
our job as consultants. We often say that we find holes. Sometimes I say we find chasms.
Ravines.
Yeah. But but it helps us help you. Because if during the course of a conversation, we can get you to understand that, oh, this is why they're asking these questions, and this is
Right.
why they want that. It's to make you, the organization, as strong as it can be so that you can survive another epidemic or survive a turnover or survive a succession plan, anything like that. So we're not doing this to be difficult. We're doing it to make you the best you can possibly be. I feel like Uncle Sam, but
Well, and also I have it is more common for grant applications. I'm working on one right now where you have to upload your strategic plan for
oh,
them.
really? That's
And
more and more
yeah,
popular.
in
Wow.
some way. So I'm seeing that a little bit more. It's not just some of it is just do you have a strategic plan, yes or no? And some of them are if you have a strategic plan, upload it, you know. within it for the larger grants,
Changed
not
then,
the little
Jessica,
ones.
over your years of grant writing? Have you seen more of that since the pandemic, or how has that changed?
Yeah, I would say more recently. Probably within the last year, I'm seeing it more.
Wow.
Um, so yeah.
Okay. Well,
It's not, like you're not required to have one, but if you have one, they want it uploaded. And there's often times where required things, oh no, optional things are really secretly required things.
you followed that, everybody? Okay.
If it says optional, it's really not optional.
Right. That's really what it is. That's really what it is. So strategic long range plan doesn't mean you freak out and go, oh my God, what we're going to do. It means that you get your ducks in a row, get them lined up, you have a plan to follow, and you get stronger. That's what it means.
Yep. Yep.
So I think I mean, everybody needs it. Everybody, I mean, you have a plan in your household, you've planned a budget, you've planned this, you plan that, plan a vacation, you don't just pick up and go, although it would be nice to do that.
We
But
have done that. It was a
but yes, I know
disaster.
you have done that. Yes, I know. I know. I don't think I could quite do that. But
That was a disaster.
what was that? Is it plan to fail? What is that phrase that we have? Fail to plan, fail to fail.
Oh, not
Yeah, that one. I can't find it, but
well, I do know the one that says failure to plan on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. That's one of my favorite ones. But there is, I forget what the other one is. We should look that up, a
there's
bunch of quotes to
yeah,
find to go
there's a
with it.
lot of them, but just use your head. That's really all we're saying. If you need help with a plan, reach out to us or someone that
Mhm.
you trust in the nonprofit world. We'd be happy to help you with the plans. Plans, just look at it this way. Plans are fun. There's a reason the word fun is in fundraising because you have to make it fun. Um, but we can help you with that. And it's a challenge. I'm not going to say it's not. It's a challenge. Putting it together can be quite challenging. But the end result is you have that map going forward and you do it every 5 years. So you know you have 5 years to get it right, 5 years to do things whatever way you want to
Mhm.
do it. Don't go to 7, just do 5. Um, and then do it. You know, get your board, get your staff, get your volunteers. Everybody helps. It isn't
Yep.
just the executive director. It isn't just the development director. It isn't just the board chair. It's everybody. It's a team. It's a team effort. And you know, you might find you have fun as you're munching on a soft pretzel. Oh, we didn't think about this as we are talking about the plan. So, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
and I think really that's we just wanted to kind of keep it brief today. And you know, it's right before the holidays. So we wish everybody the best holiday and a very solid 2026 and just get some rest.
Yeah.
We all need some
And
rest right
I would
now.
say, and take the time to rest that
Yeah.
you can rest. It's been a long year for nonprofits
Yes,
and for
it has.
fundraisers, and so take the extra time to rest. So
Absolutely.
that when we start 2026, we can
So we're
run.
back. We'll be back in January. I'm not quite sure when, so keep you hanging here. And I think that one though is on grants
It
specific.
might be, yep,
Oh,
yep.
well,
Which will be a good way to start 2026.
yes, because that even takes planning too, which everybody seems to
Yep.
grants really need. Yeah, I know I have it in here. I just can't put my fingers on it. Yes, it's on grants. So get ready for some awesome tidbits of information from
Yep.
Jessica. That'll
We will share
so
it. And like Jean said, we're just an email away. Any questions or comments or anything like that, just
yeah,
we're
so
here.
we
We're
wish
here
you
to
the best.
help.
Enjoy the remainder of 2025. Get ready for 2026, and we'll see you in the new year.